This podcast was brought to you by Speak Spokane, a community-driven podcasting studio space where people from all walks of life can speak and be heard. Follow along with us on Instagram at Speak Spokane and visit speakpodcasting.com to learn more about starting your podcasting journey today.
From Oldest to Youngest is brought to you in partnership with Spin City. Spin City is an indoor cycling studio that strives on making sure everyone feels welcome and comfortable. At Spin City, exercise is more than physical. It's a mental workout. When you come to Spin City, you become family. Spin City is family-owned and believes supporting our community is the most important way to help grow our city. Email them now at info@spincityspokane.com or call anytime at 509-919-4824.
I was once a kid who dreamed of being bigger quicker. Then I became bigger, started smoking, drinking liquor.
This is from Oldest to Youngest. I'm the oldest,
I'm
Jillisa.
the youngest. I went too early.
That's
fine.
okay. What's your name?
Hamza.
Great, Hamza. What are we talking about today?
Black history.
More Black history. Hooray.
Yay.
Even though Black History Month is over.
That's fine.
Yeah. We're Black all the time.
What did you say the other day?
Oh, it was like a meme I saw, and it said we should continue Black History Month. Hold on, I gotta think of what are all the other months. It was like, oh man,
Negro November.
And yeah, like My Nigga May. It was, just like
funny.
all the months. It had a good. That was funny. But yes, we're gonna continue our Black History talks by doing mini episodes that have like short biographies.
Yeah.
Of Black people and their stories.
Yeah. We're Black people.
We are.
That's a fun fact.
It is. I also, that book I was reading, Black Spokane, is really interesting. And that's kind of what inspired that like ongoing biographies thing, is there's a lot of people in there that I've never even heard of. And so I think their story should be told other places.
Yeah.
So that we can hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And people like to listen instead of reading.
Yeah. I don't.
So
like
we'll
reading.
tell you all about it.
I'm not a big fan of reading.
I know.
It's just, why would you read something when you could just like watch the movie? Why would I read Harry Potter when I could just watch Prisoner of Azkaban?
Well, in stories like Harry Potter, there's more stuff in the books than in the story or in the movie.
But the thing is, if I show an interest,
then mom will buy you all the books.
Then I'll just go on the internet, and then
then you'll get the deeper story that way.
I don't need to read a whole book to see, Harry Potter's eyes are actually blue, unlike the movie.
This is a generational thing because I was raised with Grandpa, who was a teacher. Yeah. And you don't know Grandpa as a teacher. You just know him as an old guy.
Old man.
Yeah. But when I was young, Grandpa was a teacher. And every summer it was like teachers would give you summer projects. And then Grandpa would give me an additional summer project. And it was usually reading or reading multiple books.
You should try to do that with me.
Yeah.
That ended quickly.
Yes,
the summer project.
Yes, I had to do summer projects all the time.
That sucks.
And it was just that's how I learned to do fractions in a summer project. Yeah. Oh. But I liked math, so it didn't bother me.
Nerd. I liked math before they started making it all complicated with these X's and O's.
That's called algebra.
I miss the
Are you still behind on your math? Is mom gonna come get you?
I'm passing now.
Good job.
Ooh.
I'm proud of you.
61.
Way to go.
Ooh.
You just got to keep actually doing it.
Ooh. It's difficult now. They want me to do other geometry stuff.
Yeah, that's the way it just keeps building on itself.
Because the class is called pre-algebra, and we're doing geometry.
All of math is related and connected. And so you have to learn certain pieces. That's what Sophia
says. I just wanted to. Algebra was easy, and that's why it was almost enjoyable.
I do love algebra.
You could just do the stuff, and then you found X. And then you were so proud of yourself because you found X.
It's immediate satisfaction.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay. Do you remember what we talked about with Black history, where we ended off?
Not so much where we ended off, but I remember.
What we talked about?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're just going to kind of continue that. So from like the end of World War II, the mid 40s and into the 50s, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That was a long time ago.
Was the Great Depression in the 1910s or the 40s?
I don't know.
I don't know
the exact years, but I do think it was the 30s and 40s.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure. Let's go with that.
Mm-hmm. I think so. And
Stale
because I
bread.
think World War II like took us out of the Great Depression, because then it was like the war provided
That
a lot
makes
of
sense.
jobs and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do
Stale
think it
bread.
was right before World War II.
Stale bread is kind of like the best bread
No.
because you have no reason to eat it unless you're starving, which makes it delicious. Have you ever eaten like moldy bread? Not like on purpose, but like
You made a sandwich?
I was eating a hoagie, just a hoagie, because they're hoagies and they're delicious. And there was mold on it. And I was like, oh, it's just a speckle of mold. Took that off. I was continuing to eat the sandwich and I was like, something tastes like
Yeah.
how mold smells.
That's not a
and it
wise choice.
smells exactly how it tastes.
You're
it's
lucky
crazy stuff.
You haven't poisoned yourself yet.
I'll be fine. Building my immune system.
Great. Okay, so do you know what was happening in the country as far as race relations in the 40s and 50s?
Segregation.
High. And Jim Crow in the South.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Spokane is obviously far from the South.
Yeah.
But we did not miss out on our fair share of problems.
That's true.
Yeah. So it was not the same as like Jim Crow South with like lynchings and those sort of extreme cases of brutality.
Yeah.
But there were still a lot of discriminations and a few incidences of things that happened. So I'm going to tell you about them.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Sounds sad.
Well, it is kind of sad, but Black people are resilient.
Yeah. All of our history is sad.
You know,
Everything's sad.
the world is sad.
I got a new phone and it's somehow scratched now.
That's
I
also
didn't drop it
sad.
on nothing. I'm not scraping it across the concrete. Anyway.
Are you just depressed today?
I'm just sad, man.
Okay.
7 a.m. That's when I had to wake up.
You know,
At 7.
poor kid. At least you get to skip school for a while. You get to do school late.
Then I still have to do school. And it'll be 7 when I'm done with school.
Well,
I don't deserve this.
it's true. So in Spokane in the 40s, early 50s, there was still discrimination. There were issues with like hotels and restaurants didn't want to serve Black patrons. Even as far as like, even like the big major hotels, like you know, the Davenport, which is like a big historic hotel, it wouldn't serve Black people, including some like really famous Black musicians like Louis Armstrong and Duke Ellington and
Whitney Houston.
no.
She was alive back then.
No. Do you know anything about timelines?
Yeah.
Okay.
When she died? 2009?
I'm not sure.
I think it was 2011.
I agree with you.
Don't do drugs, kids.
Yeah, that's
Unless they're free.
no. Still don't do that. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about Spokane.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. So there were also like signs in restaurants and, you know, hotels and that we reserve the right to serve and we won't serve coloreds, basically.
Yeah.
At the time, it was still a pretty small Black population, still like 1% to 2%. After the war, there was an influx of just people in general to this area, but you know, the percentage wasn't enough to change that percentage. It wasn't like we're suddenly 50% of the population or
2%
something.
to 2.2%.
Yeah, something like that. It wasn't crazy.
Yeah.
But so the thing about Spokane was, and I kind of feel like this is still kind of how Spokane is, it wasn't the outward, such extreme racism of the South.
Yeah.
But it was more subtle and like, you know, we're still going to discriminate against you, but we're not going to like call you the N-word and lynch people. And so it was like kind of like a nice, nasty, like,
It was a nice racism. They were kind. They're kind people.
They're kind, but still discriminating.
Yeah, still racist.
Yeah.
But they're nice.
But they're nice about it. There were even rules like Black women couldn't try on clothes. Like there was a department store called the Crescent that was like super famous here, and they even had a rule like Black women couldn't try on clothes because then the white woman wouldn't want to buy them.
Yeah.
If a Black woman had tried them on.
But how do I know if they fit?
Exactly. And there was this Black lady who just didn't care one time, and she did that. And she said, well, how am I going to know if this fits? And she went and tried it on anyway, and then took it back to the clerk and was like, nope, doesn't fit. So there's like also like really fun stories like that in Spokane where some people just resisted.
Yeah, people got courage.
Yeah. And they were,
That's not me.
I know.
I'm gonna stay in my lane.
Right? That's kind of how I've chosen to be most of my life too. Like if you don't want me there, I just probably won't go.
Rules were made to be
follow.
rules. Don't
You're not
break
trying
them.
to break them.
Someone else can break them, and then I'll follow them. But I'm not breaking no rules.
That's fair.
I'm not a big fan of rule breakage.
Yeah, that's an interesting. We're very like non-combative people.
Yeah.
We like to argue with each other and like debate, but it's not. We're not like fighters, as they say.
Yeah.
Lovers and fighters. But yeah, that's super interesting.
Sure.
Yeah. I should have wrote that lady's name down. I'll have to find it. Because I really do like that story. Like, she just didn't care.
We'll call her Sharon.
Her name was not Sharon.
It's Sharon.
Okay, anyway. There was also discrimination in, like, housing and where people could buy property in Spokane, which, have you heard of, like, the East Side or the Fifth Avenue District?
Not the Fifth Avenue District, but the East Side, yeah.
Yeah. So it was, like, realtors tried to kind of, like, redline black buyers. So there were a lot of black soldiers in the area because of like there was Fort Geiger and Fort 7 Mile, like all these places.
Yeah.
So they had a lot of black soldiers. And so some of them, when they got out of the military, decided to settle and just stay in this area.
Yeah.
But a lot of realtors wouldn't like show them houses or let them buy houses. But it was the same sort of like nice discrimination. They wouldn't just outright say it. It was just like they wouldn't go through the process with them to buy these houses. So that's why a lot of black families ended up living on the East Side. That was like where realtors would show them houses and let them buy houses. So it kind of became like a black neighborhood, but I mean, there were still other white people there too, and other nationalities started to also come into this area.
Yeah.
Like the Japanese people also had some problems with discrimination at the time following the war. Yeah. So it was, also there was this idea that they didn't want too many black people in a certain area. So like you might be able to sell one house to a black family in a neighborhood, but then they wouldn't sell to another black family. Yeah. Yeah. So there was still like discrimination, but it was the nice kind.
The fun stuff.
Yeah.
Are you sure you can afford this stuff?
Exactly.
The locking your car 4 times stuff.
That kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but that's kind of, there's like a resurgence of trying to like bring back the East Side and the Fifth Avenue district. Yeah. And even the city council has agreed to like put some money and funding into that district of town, which I think is kind of cool. Like instead of being redlined and only being allowed to live in that district, it's like, well, it can also be a business district and we can use it, as a black historical place. Yeah. And that's where, remember I was telling you about the Carl Maxey Center? Yeah. Yeah, it's down on the Fifth Avenue.
That's fun.
Yeah, they bought a building. They're like refurbishing it.
Fifth Avenue's up the hill, right? South Hill?
Kind of. It's like by, it's at the bottom of the hill. The numbers go up as you go up the hill. Yeah. So it's pretty low down at the bottom of the hill. Okay. But yeah. There's some pretty historic businesses down there too. Like Larry's Barber Shop has been open for a really long time. And it's right near the Carl Maxey Center. Yeah. I think there's a Masonic Lodge. There's some churches down in that area. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's kind of like it's like a historic part of town, but they don't treat it that way yet. And so that's kind of what that initiative is trying to do, is to get people to put funding into that area of town.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Funding.
Hilarious.
Thank you.
Yeah. But I think it's cool to know that history, that's why it's kind of the black area of town. It's because we were kind of redlined into that area.
Yeah. No one really goes over there anyway.
Well, I mean, I did when I was young. Yeah, the Martin Luther King Center is there. But when I was young, it was called the East Central Community Center.
Yeah. It's too close to Idaho.
No, it's not close to Idaho. It's right at the bottom of the hill by Fred Meyer.
No, like Idaho. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So on the east side, that means you're closer to Idaho.
Well, I mean, closer,
which is my
yes,
problem.
But not close to it.
I want to keep as much distance from potato land as possible.
Is that what you call it, Potato Land?
Yes. I saw a black man there once at a skate park.
That's fun.
It was
At the one
crazy.
in Coeur d'Alene?
Yeah. It was crazy. I celebrated. I almost cried.
Oh, wow. Okay, so some more stuff that happened around here. This was actually really interesting to me. I've never heard any of these 3 stories, and I've lived in Spokane my whole life, besides going away for college. But in 1946, there were 3 different incidences that happened that were big racial issues in this area.
Mm-hmm.
So one, there was a boxing match between soldiers.
Yeah.
And it was a white soldier and a black soldier.
Yeah.
And at first the black soldier was winning the fight. Mm-hmm. And then a couple of rounds in, they say he got tired and he forfeited.
Yeah.
So the black soldiers who were there watching the fight didn't believe it. They felt like something happened, or somebody tampered with his mouthpiece, or something happened that made him forfeit. They didn't think it was a fair fight. So they started being rowdy.
Yeah.
And then the rowdiness, the military police tried to come and squash it all out and end the rowdiness after the boxing match.
Yeah.
Which they did. But at some point during this scuffle, one soldier was killed. Ooh. So they say that he was bludgeoned above his right ear. Yeah. Like a blow to the head with something. Yeah. And he died. He was an 18-year-old Private Samuel E. Hicks from Oxford, North Carolina.
That's young.
Yeah, he was just 18, and he hadn't even been in Spokane long. He was newly enlisted, and so that's very sad.
That is.
And he was a black man, and so it became a controversial issue because it was just they never even really tried to or found who killed him. Yeah, they were it got rowdy, the crowd got rowdy. Yeah. Nobody knows what happened, kind of thing. Yeah. But that was it was a pretty serious situation that those soldiers brought to the NAACP, trying to be we're not being treated fairly in all of these military areas and stuff. So definitely. Yeah. So that was the first incident that happened, which was in, I want to say March. It was earlier in the year. Yeah. And then the newspaper, of course, didn't help with this situation where they criminalized the black soldiers for getting rowdy. They said they were throwing rocks and, causing the scene basically. And which also raised anxiety in white citizens. Those black soldiers are out of control and they get rowdy and they'll, blah, blah, blah. So it kind of raised tensions between the groups. Yeah. And there was also just this already a tension between military personnel and citizens because there were so many forts nearby. It was military used to try to keep to themselves, but then the black soldiers didn't have the same accommodations, so they would come into town, but then they weren't treated good in town either, so it was there were already some hesitations, I guess you'd say. Yeah. And then a second situation that happened the same year happened in July, where there were 2 ladies. There's this thing called the American Women's Army Corps. So it was after the war, they tried to give women jobs in the military. Yeah. And but it was kind of a separate thing. They were kept separately. Yeah. It wasn't all intermixing. And so there were 2 lady soldiers, and they couldn't get hotels in town. Yeah. So they were staying at a man's house who rented his house out as rooms. So they were there, and then 2 other soldiers were there. The police were called to the house, and they were people are getting rowdy over here or whatever. Yeah. And so the police came. They poured water on the girls and then made them change clothes in front of officers. They wouldn't leave the room. Yeah. One lady said that she was beaten on the way to jail. And then while they were in jail, they were denied visitors, phone calls, mail, legal representation for more than 2 weeks. Oh. So they were just being held for 2 weeks with nothing. No contact, no lawyers, nothing.
Yeah, some might call that illegal.
Yeah, some might, yeah. So this was kind of the race relations in the 40s in Spokane. It was even the police were kind of terrible. you know, and like had this idea of black soldiers that was extreme. Yeah. The detective who was like on the case even referred to the women as prostitutes. Yeah. Whereas like he just had a very low opinion of them. Like, you know, he didn't really know them, but and who knows who even called and said, hey, there's a disturbance at this house. Cause I don't think, you know, the women said they were sleeping. So yeah, it's an interesting, like, to me, it sounds like one of those situations where a nosy neighbor called and didn't like that those people were there. And then, you know, then it turns into a police brutality issue.
Neighbors be tripping.
That's true.
If there's a party, leave it be. It'll be done eventually.
That's true. I have that opinion most of the time. There are some situations where it's like, okay, bro, it's 5 a.m. though.
No, I've never had that.
I haven't slept an hour. I need you to go to bed.
I've never had that problem.
Well, I'm a heavy sleeper, so not much disturbs me.
Can't wake you up.
Yeah, so it's not usually a problem for me, but there are extremes.
Yeah, not me. I mean,
you don't really care, but you're still young. That's why you don't care.
You can make as much noise as you want, buddy. I don't care.
One
Just
time
make the noise consistent so I can fall asleep.
So you don't want any sudden things.
If it's
like
crash,
if it's
boom,
music, then it's cool.
If it's crash boom bang, then it's bash boom bosh. Stop.
Then you're not gonna. Yeah.
No, keep it as crash boom bang.
We used to have a neighbor that they like partied outside a lot, and mom hated it, but I was kind of the same way. Like they'll be done by midnight, it's fine. Yeah. But you know, mom had young kids and didn't want to deal with that, so I can understand that too. Like if there's a party keeping Sammy awake, I probably would want to fight them.
Yeah. Yeah. But that baby needs sleep.
Yeah. He's a little crazy.
Like one person might be like cranky from not getting enough sleep. Not him. Cranky isn't the word to describe.
No, it's like he's a little gremlin. If he's tired.
He's like irritated, angry, sad, mad, tired, everything.
Lots of sad, mad.
And Sam, when he's tired, he refuses to admit such. So, you're like, oh, you're just tired. But then he's like, no.
Yeah, he is.
I'm just mad.
That's like the worst thing is to admit you're tired. He'd rather admit anything else.
Yeah, someone got to tell him that being tired isn't a bad thing. No. It means you get to sleep. Oh, he has night terrors, though. Yeah, I could see.
And little kids just don't like sleeping.
But it's so good.
I agree. You didn't like to sleep either.
Yeah, but then you
hit teenagehood and you're like, oh, this is have I been missing?
You don't have to deal with everybody, and you get to sleep. And hopefully, it's one of those long dreams that you're like, I feel like I was on a journey for hours. Yeah. Yeah. Jurassic Park dreams.
That's funny.
Without the dinosaurs. Jurassic Park, but with bunnies.
No.
That's going to be a smash in the box office.
Okay. You write it. We'll see.
Let's see. Like Rodent Park. Rodent Park, that's a great idea. We can have squirrels.
Ew. This sounds like a terrifying movie.
And like rats occasionally.
What do they do? Just hoard things?
No, they're just there. It's like Jurassic. We'll have 60 squirrels in a small cage.
Okay.
No. And then everybody's happy because look at all these squirrels. Exactly. But only rodents.
You should Google it. I feel like somebody in the world has made a rodent zoo.
You could get cooked rat on a stick.
Or a rodent. No, you can't eat the animals at the zoo. That's like going to SeaWorld and getting sushi.
Could you imagine someone going to a petting zoo and they're like, oh, what a cute goat. Someone's like, yeah,
here's some goat stew. No, that's not okay.
Some lamb stew?
I guess that's what farms are, kind of. Like, cute chicken.
You get to eat them later.
Yeah, I don't know.
People are too attached. People get so attached to animals so quickly. I went and hung out with chickens for 3 months until they were fully grown. I nurtured them. I fed them. I gave them water. I took their eggs when they grew. I did run from them.
Chickens used to chase Hamza.
They were very mean. And they pecked my leg. And that was the only. But you still didn't have a
problem eating them.
And then they were like, remember those chickens? And I was like, where'd the chickens go? And then Kitty was like, remember yesterday?
We ate dinner.
When we ate Quacky? She's gone now.
Khadijah is very good at realistic, like this
Blunt.
is the way that life goes.
Very blunt.
Yes, we ate that chicken.
Which is fair.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't want a kid
And
to be like, we flushed him down the
any
toilet.
of the emotional stuff. She's just like, we ate him yesterday and he was good.
You went to a different farm. No,
she's not going to do all
we
that.
munched on that goldfish.
I don't think you can eat goldfish.
You can eat goldfish.
Okay, well,
People do it. You can eat.
I don't want to know.
You can eat a bunch of
Back
fish.
to our talk.
But back to fish.
No.
Now I'm interested if you can eat. Now I want to know what goldfish tastes like. Do you think their meat is orange?
No.
Do you think you eat it with the skin?
Goldfish can get big if they have enough
They
space
get
to grow and
chunky.
everything. So I don't know if you can eat goldfish.
I don't see why not. Do you think they have scales?
Yes.
Most
I think
fish
all
do.
fish, yeah. I think that's the thing about fish.
So if you just, I feel like it would taste similar to like salmon.
I think it'd be more like a cod, like a white fish.
Yeah.
But that's just a total
I could
guess.
see it being salmon and like haddock combined into one.
Who knows? We'll have to Google.
Well, I'm going to
later.
eat some goldfish.
Okay, you try.
We're going to PetSmart after this.
Anyways. Okay, so these instances were... Oh, there was one more. So in October, actually on October 5th, which is Aisha's birthday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know.
Okay, well, on Aisha's birthday in 1946...
Wow, she's old.
She was not here. But there was another issue on a military base. So at Camp 7 Mile, at like 2 a.m. in the morning, 20 to 25 black soldiers got up and stormed the armory.
Yeah.
Do you know what the armory is?
Yeah.
That's like where they keep all the weapons.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they took the weapons out and then just were shooting in the air, like pop, pop, pop,
Yeah.
That's like New Year's, but
Yeah.
crazier.
But with guns.
And there was like 25 people.
Yeah. Redneck New Year.
And then they ran into the woods.
Yeah.
So this all started because of another police brutality issue, or what they felt was like a police brutality issue. There had been a black soldier downtown who had got drunk, and an officer had approached him, and then more soldiers came to the drunk officer's like aid. It started a fight. They took the gun from the police officer. It was a thing.
Yeah.
So then the black soldiers at the camp felt like that guy was wronged, and so they, took over the armory. It was more just to make a scene, like they didn't have plans to hurt anyone. They didn't hurt anyone. It was just to be noisy and make a scene about not being treated well, basically. But of course the newspaper also made this like a sensationalized crazy thing that happened. And the quote from the Spokane Daily Chronicle was, "Riot by hundreds of Negroes quailed at 7 Mile." So it was like they made it sound so extreme, like people were rioting in the street and just, shooting guns everywhere. But it wasn't. They were doing it in reaction to what had happened with that officer. Yeah. But this was actually handled pretty well, like locally, where they didn't blame all the soldiers and they didn't arrest anyone who wasn't involved. And they tried to calm it down from that point. Instead of the media was like, making it a thing. But the city and the law enforcement were like, no, we're not gonna be extreme or punish people who weren't involved or try to make it any more of an event than it was. Yeah. But one problem that like this showed was the local NAACP weren't like reporting all of these instances fast enough to the regular NAACP, like the headquarters. So they kind of got not like in trouble, but they had a letter written to them by Thurgood Marshall about like, you guys have to report this stuff as it's happening, not like 6 months later, because then you don't have the help of the national NAACP and all the lawyers and everything that comes with. So that was interesting to me. That's something that I've always, I'm part of the NAACP, and you should be too soon, because they have some young people. You should join with me, join the meetings.
Then I'd have to do stuff.
You would. You'd have to join meetings and talk about things.
Meetings?
I mean, it's just, right now they're just Zoom meetings.
Meetings?
It's not that hard. It's nothing difficult.
It's such a nerdy thing how old are you?
Anyway.
Only 50-year-olds say meetings.
Anyway.
Meetings.
But it's something that is like, being part of an organization like that, there are like steps that you follow. Yeah. And then having a bigger organization like nationally is really helpful. That's how you kind of can get the word out. You can, get assistance, like having better lawyers than what you might have in your small town.
Yeah.
So that was like an issue that was happening.
Yeah.
But I think after that letter, it was kind of squashed. Like, if you get a letter from Thurgood Marshall, you should probably pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Who's that?
Oh, gosh. I knew you were going to do it.
Kind of, their name reminds me of like Margaret Thatcher.
Okay, well, no. Thurgood Marshall. At first, he was part of the NAACP.
Yeah.
And like the national, the special counsel. So like he was like the lawyer for the NAACP.
Yeah.
He went on to become the first Black Supreme Court justice.
Mm-hmm. That's fun.
He started with the NAACP, just like fighting racism and taking some of these extreme cases to court.
Yeah.
But then he went on to continue.
That's fun. What's his name?
Thurgood Marshall. And I'll need a full report by next week.
You say Thurgood Marshall?
Thurgood, yes.
Is that
Thurgood.
his full name?
Yes, Thurgood
His real
Marshall.
name?
Yes.
That's the blackest name I've ever heard.
Wow.
Thurgood?
Thurgood.
Thurgood.
Thur. Good. Thurgood Marshall. How have you not... Did you take any history
That's
class?
not a first name.
It
Thurgood?
is. Yes, that is the man's name.
That's not a first name, though. You can't name people that.
Well, you could back
Thurgood?
in the day.
That's not acceptable. I don't think that should be socially acceptable. Thurgood. Thurgood. That's how you describe McDonald's French fries. They're good.
Oh my God. You're stupid. Thurgood. You're so dumb. Okay.
It's just not a first name him like Billy or something.
No.
Give him a
Billy doesn't sound all official.
Give him a actual name him like Terrence or something. Give him a human name.
Terrence.
Thurgood. Remember when we were talking about like Georgia accents? That's a Georgia
I don't know where Thurgood Marshall was. I don't know where he was born. I can't remember actually, but I would guess the South. Yeah.
It's not a name.
Well, I mean, it's probably out of use now. I don't know how many young
I've
people.
never
are named
heard of literally
Thurgood.
anybody named Thurgood.
Well, now you know. Okay, so back to our talk. There was kind of this issue, and I was reading in this book, Black Spokane. Part of the issue, I think, with what was happening with the NAACP was Black people who had been here a long time were kind of comfortable with where they fit into society.
Yeah.
And they didn't want to really shake that up all the time. So when it came to like the military personnel, they were usually from out of town, coming in, and they would be like, this stuff sucks. Like, why you guys put up with this kind of discrimination? But the people who were already here were like, well, it's good enough, we're good. Yeah. So why make a fuss about it kind of thing. So that was kind of like a struggle within the Black community of people who wanted to make a fuss and people who were like, but it's not the South, so we're okay.
Yeah. It could be worse.
It could be way worse. So let's just be cool about it. But I think that's still kind of an issue today in Black America, where there are some people who are all for rioting and shaking things up. And then there are some who are like, want to be more political and get it done in like a legal way or a more calm way.
Yeah. Over time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which side are you on, do you feel?
Pretty much middle.
Middle, yeah.
Like, well, I mean, as far as I can tell, things like protesting doesn't do anything. It doesn't change nothing.
Interesting.
So might as well go down the political route.
That's an interesting viewpoint. And you're young. You haven't been through like many, I don't know what you would call them, like events or movements, maybe.
Yeah.
So I could see why.
Pretty much.
Why you could feel like. Yeah. So like the protests of last summer, you don't think those did any good or much good?
Well, I think they did good in spreading, like, telling people who didn't know.
I agree.
But in a systemic standpoint, it didn't do
change
anything.
much. Yeah. Did you know the Black Lives Matter movement is up for a Nobel Peace Prize? Someone nominated them. Yeah. I think it's pretty. The person who nominated them was saying that the reason it was such a big deal was because it didn't stay as an American movement. Like, people all over the world paid attention to it, and then were like, oh, this happens here too.
Yeah.
So I think that's really cool.
It is.
Yeah. But I wonder, so I wonder if it's sort of a mixture of the two. Like you're saying, systemically, nothing changed much from last summer except the exposure. Yeah. But if that exposure over the next 5 years, will that systemically change something?
Yeah.
It's kind of like, is it still part of the slow process?
I think, because nobody got fired from like Congress or anything. So they're going to keep the same viewpoints and such. Mm-hmm. So, nothing.
How much is going to change?
Yeah, nothing's going to change.
Yeah. Which
is why we can't have old people in Congress.
So you're going to run?
Yes. Okay, I'm going to run for Congress at 14.
Wonderful, wonderful.
I don't even know what you do in Congress. You make like laws, right?
Mm-hmm. And you debate it all and back and forth and vote, and
that doesn't sound like fun.
It sounds like some long days.
Sounds pretty boring to talk to friggin' Donna and Bill for 6 hours debating whether or not cheesesteaks should be legal. Legal. Easel.
I don't know which side I'm on. I think that it's even the sort of divide with like, were you more of a fan of Martin Luther King or Malcolm X? You know, like justice by any means or peaceful protest. Yeah. And I think that there's time and place for both. Yeah. And I'm kind of okay with even the extreme. Like I don't care about riots or when they set the police precinct on fire in Minneapolis. Like I was with it. Yeah. Go for it, guys. I get the anger, you know what I mean? Yeah. So like that part of it, I think it's all part of the same process. I think you need both. I think you need political people who are calm and eloquent and can talk and can be in court and can,
need change on both sides.
Yeah. So I'm kind of like you. I'm kind of middle road. Yeah. I'm with the shits, but like also I know there's,
if it go down, it go down.
But also,
if it don't go down,
there's some legal ways to handle things. Yeah. That's interesting. I'd be interested to talk to Grandma Ida about that because she was a judge. Yeah. She was the first Black judge in Idaho. Yeah.
That's my grandma. Yeah. That's me.
So that's cool. And I just would be curious to know her opinions on some of those things.
That would be interesting. Mm-hmm. I assume it would be more like...
do it legally.
No.
Oh, you think she's more extreme?
Grandma, she might have, done good things and like, gone, become the first judge in Idaho. Mm-hmm. She is with it. If she had a Glock, she would bust it out.
I think, but she's also older now, and I think she might be a little more like, do it the better way, the political.
As far as I can tell, I haven't spoken to her in a while. She has stayed the same from when she's a child.
I believe it.
Child. I mean, young adult.
That's funny.
She was alive back in like the 50s and whatnot. She's old.
And that's what this time that we're talking about. All of our grandparents were born in the 40s, I think. Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, right? I think Grandpa was born in 1946.
He was.
So that was like when some of these events were happening, he was being born. Yeah. So his parents were, like part of the society at the time. Yeah. Yeah. Obviously, they're long past, but it would have been interesting to know, or to know like what the well, it could be interesting, or it could be like, well, our great grandparents were racist. So it's a toss up. Who knows?
I think number 2 is more likely.
Probably more likely. Yes. Okay, the first person I want to do like our biography on is actually Carl Maxey, who was like a lawyer and civil activist in town. So I won't do the whole spiel about his whole life or anything. Yeah. But one thing that was really interesting was he was one of the people that he even experienced the kind of nice discrimination of Spokane. Yeah. He went off to the war, like he was a military medic, and when he came back, he was still like fully dressed in uniform, like had all his medals and everything on his uniform and was like rode the Greyhound bus into town, and the restaurant at the Greyhound station wouldn't serve him.
Yeah.
So it was the same thing that happened all over the country, where black soldiers fought in the war and then came home and were treated
like garbage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so it was, that happened here too. Even to like some people who ended up being really prominent figures. It was just kind of that era was still sucked.
It affected everybody.
Yeah. In different ways. Like obviously we are not in the South, and there are horror stories of the South during that time, but
Louisiana.
Yeah. It's Emmett Till and people like that.
Just lynchings in general.
Yeah, there were so many lynchings, like there were some people we don't even know
those people.
Yeah.
And they didn't. They lynched weird in Louisiana.
My grandma actually thinks that I think it was her mom's brother just left home one time and never came home.
Ooh.
And they aren't sure if he was lynched or not.
Probably
but it was very strange because he just left one day and never came back.
Yeah. Scary.
Right?
We gotta stop sending Hakeem on walks.
I know. That's why Mom's always freaking out at him. Okay, so then the rest of the 40s and into the 50s was just kind of the same,
same story.
The same quiet hate, yeah. It wasn't anything extreme. It wasn't, there weren't even many, like, instances you can pinpoint, past that. But slowly attitudes, like, began to shift. So it was, I'd say probably still in the 50s, but in the 60s, the attitudes sort of began to shift.
Yeah.
One of the major fights was about getting black teachers into the school system. And so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Actually, like 2 or 3 years before they passed Brown versus Board of Education. Do you know what that is?
Nope.
Okay. Jesus. Maybe we should just do a basic history lesson. But Brown versus Board of Education was when they desegregated schools. Mm-hmm. So it was like...
Oh, I do.
Okay, yeah. So it was just like the schools could no longer be segregated because black students weren't getting the same education that white students were getting.
Yeah.
So before that happened, though, there was pressure from the local NAACP to have black teachers in Spokane district schools because we were so far from the South and the way that infrastructure is built, there wasn't really that discrimination like in school. Like black kids could go to school here. It wasn't like a black school and a white school, but they were underrepresented like in teachers and administration, where it was like you can go there, but you only have white teachers, and sometimes the white teachers were racist and would like literally call you out in class and stuff. So it was like there was a push before Brown versus Board of Education to have more black teachers hired in Spokane. Yeah. One of the teachers was named Eugene Breckenridge, and he had a master's from Whitworth College, which like he graduated from a school in town, which you would think would give him some
credit.
Yes, credit. But he was working as a window washer because no one would hire him as a teacher until the NAACP came in. And then the NAACP kind of, I won't say threatened, but kind of were like, well, if you aren't going to hire him and he's fully qualified, we can take this to court. Yeah. And so because of that, the school district was like, we don't need to do all that. We can just hire him in.
Okay, calm down.
Yeah, calm down.
Breathe.
Here's your diversity hire. Here you go. So he got the job. But something that's crazy is he was a teacher for 14 years and only missed 6 days of school.
Oh.
Isn't that crazy?
No. Not like it is crazy, but like, bro.
Man.
That's a lot. Oh. 6 days?
Yeah.
He's
and
lonely.
That's that thing about like being, when you're the first black person to get to do something, you have to do it.
You got to do it
well.
Yeah.
Like, because you're kind of the pathway for other people. So to me, that's what that said to me. Like that he was like, oh, I got to take this serious. And and it sounds like he
6
did.
days?
Yeah.
14 years?
That's what I'm like, I'm trying to get 6 days off next week.
Life. That's my whole life. And he only makes 6 days?
Yes. He taught math and English.
Those are like not related at all.
I know.
That's
But I think
weird.
his master's was in like sociology or something.
Mm.
I think back then you had to be more well-rounded.
Yeah.
That now it's like, you can just be a math teacher
Yeah.
and you don't have to know anything about
Have
verbs
one
and
thing,
adjectives and like. So I think he was a more well-rounded teacher than what we're used to now.
English teachers are cool peeps.
You like English? I hated English,
I
but I
don't-
had a
I'm
cool
not-
English teacher.
I don't like it, but the teachers are cool peeps.
Oh yeah, that's
'Cause
usually true.
It's all the young ones that become
English teachers.
English, so they understand. They're cool.
They're a little
the cool guys.
They're a
Yeah.
little closer to the youth.
Yeah.
That's funny. So after there had been one other black teacher before Eugene Breckenridge named Helen Dundee, but she only taught for 1 year in 1934.
That's not very long.
Yeah, but she went. She taught at the school Sophia went to, North Central.
Ah.
Yeah. But after Eugene Breckenridge, there were 35 black teachers over the next, few decades. So he kind of opened the door.
That's fun.
Yeah. It's cool. I also like that it showed that like the NAACP at that point was kind of they were also getting more credibility, where it was like, if you're going to make this a thing, we can make it a thing.
Yeah.
So I think that's cool too. It showed like it had gone from being just an organization of community and, black people coming together to talk about what was going on, and became like a real political power. Like you can't mess with the NAACP.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's cool.
Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Racism.
Mm-hmm.
How you react to that?
Like what? Like if someone's racist to me directly?
Yeah.
I guess it's been different at different points in life. When I was young, I was more timid, and it kind of took me a minute to realize something was racist.
Yeah.
So it was like I had this instance in high school where this girl, without permission, touched my hair, and then she was like, "Oh, it's soft," and I was like, "Yeah, it's soft," and she was like, "Oh, I expected it to be like wool." And I was, so like it took me a minute, and then I just didn't deal with that girl anymore. But it's, it's like kind of it takes you aback for a second, and you're like, wait, what? Mm-hmm. And then you process it, and then it's like, oh no, like that's not going to fly. But like I said, I'm not really like a combative person, so I wasn't going to like go up to her and tell her off or anything. Yeah. But it was like, oh, that's not cool.
Yeah.
Now I'd probably fight you. Like, don't touch my hair.
Yeah.
And then say something racist. You'd probably get popped in the mouth. But yeah. I guess it just depends.
Yeah.
Have you ever had like an instance where somebody was racist?
Oh yeah. I'm a normal person.
Yeah.
I live in
You're
Spokane.
a normal black person, yeah. So how do you handle it?
Well, it depends on the situation, I guess. Like one time I was asked where I'm from, and white people, where are you from? No, where are you really from? No, where are your parents from? Like that. Mm-hmm. And I just didn't talk to them. I just ended the conversation. Mm-hmm. I didn't tell mom for a while. I didn't even like process that it was racist. Yeah. For a while. Yeah. It's kind of like you're never going about your life as a black person waiting for things. I mean, well, maybe people used to, or maybe some people do, but we didn't really do that. Yeah. So it is interesting when it happens, and then you're like, wait a minute, that felt funny. Yeah. But then I've had like other experience, like someone just locking their car a bunch of times at like Rosars.
As you walk by.
Yeah, because it's Rosars. And in those situations, you just gotta laugh.
Yeah, I laugh too. You know what I started doing? I lock my car obnoxiously when white people walk by.
That's hilarious.
I do.
Yeah. I mean, I used to get angry when I was younger, but nowadays, what's my anger gonna do?
Nothing.
My anger isn't gonna reach anything.
It says more about them than it does about you, always. So yeah. So you just have to just kind of laugh it off.
You can laugh it off. You can just not acknowledge them.
Have you ever been like followed in a store?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I just go about my business. Like
I'm
still gonna pay for what I came in here for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just need my stuff, yo.
Yeah. Mom is always
I love mom's reaction.
Mom hates when stuff like that happens.
Mom hates racism.
Yeah, she's a a white lady from Spokane, so she has no problem telling people about themselves.
We're like used to it. Mom gets furious.
Yeah.
Mom gets a whole new level of angry.
Yeah. She's a mama baby.
Which is very conflicting with me because I'm like, okay, whatever. I don't even care.
I think that we have to have that sort of complacent attitude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because otherwise we just be annoyed or angry or bothered all the time.
If someone drives by and calls me the N-word, I'm just going to move on.
Right.
You know, if they like come back and want to have a conversation, okay, I'll talk to you.
Didn't you have a situation with a friend that called you the N-word?
No. Okay.
Or an acquaintance?
So I knew this guy, Ryan. I call him Racist Ryan because he's racist. I was outside one time. This is when I used to get angry at racism. So I was outside one time. We was playing basketball, and it was a bunch of people outside because we were playing basketball.
Neighborhood kids.
Yeah. So my friend Trey, who isn't black, he's ginger. He's white. His name's Trey.
Okay.
Anyway, my friend Trey I think it stands for Trevor or something.
Okay.
Anyway, sorry. So he was supposedly roasting him.
Okay.
So he was like, I'm about to roast you. Ryan, this is Racist Ryan roasting Trey. And he just went, nigga. And I was like, ugh. And he's lucky Sophia was there. I was about to rock up. On my mama, I was really going to box him. I was going to box him.
Did you say that or you just that's the way your body felt immediately?
I told him too. What'd you say?
But Sophia stopped you?
Yeah. He's lucky Hakeem wasn't there.
She made you go inside?
No.
Oh, she just made
She
you
just
not
pushed me back and held me back. And I was tiny at the time, you know.
Which is probably why she did it.
Yeah.
And she wasn't going to fight him.
Yeah.
So how'd you handle it? It just ended there? And you didn't hang out with him anymore?
I kind of just moved on. Said, you know.
Don't say
we
that
had
again?
interaction, yeah. You know. He got scared when I started kind of half charging at him. So, you know, he never said nothing like that no more.
He kind of got the threat a little bit. That's good.
I didn't like Racist Ryan in the first place, so it's fine.
Yeah, I had a neighbor recently who was a white kid who I'd say is maybe like 20. And he used the N-word constantly. Like it was like just to his friends and on the phone. And I don't know. Yeah. It's just ignorant.
Yeah. Which is why I laugh now.
Yeah, it's like you can't be angry all the time.
Your ignorance is funny to me.
Yeah.
It means nothing.
And yeah, you can't it doesn't hurt my feelings to be called the N-word.
It doesn't mean anything to me.
Yeah. But it is just obnoxious. You just look like an idiot.
And, you know, if I react angry, now you got the reaction that you wanted.
Yeah.
And I've further indented that thought into your mind that, you know, we're bad and, you know, we'll kill you.
Fight you or,
put you on a stick, put your head on a stick, make weird noises, dance around your head. No. So I just laugh now. I just... You know,
that's interesting because also mom has that thing where like mom likes to fight about it or argue about it at least. Like she'll tell you about yourself. Yeah. We're not even going to go that extra step. Like, no. Yeah.
Like I'm not expecting you to know how you're racist, but if you actually want to have a conversation with me about how something is racist, I'll talk to you.
Right.
But
I'm not going to explain to you everything you do.
Yeah, but if you just drive by and call me the N-word, I'm just going to move on.
Yeah. So moving a little bit forward from the same things were happening in the 50s, with housing discrimination still, it just became more and more subtle. As people got called out about stuff, it was like they wouldn't tell you it was because you're black. They'd say it was because of this issue or that issue or, sometimes it would be like people would apply for housing and then they would be accused of not ever allowing black people. And then they would say, oh, we just never got any applications from black people. So it's stuff like that where, the black people knew they had submitted an application, but they were kind of gaslighting them to be like, we just don't get black people trying to live here, that kind of thing. But in the 1960s, October 1963, there was this man named John Wheeler, and he had a barbershop. And there was a foreign exchange student. I don't even know exactly where he was from, but he was black. Yeah. And he tried to go to the barbershop. and the man, John Wheeler, would not service him, wouldn't give him a haircut. So this guy was a student at Gonzaga. So he went and told like the student council people and the NAACP and all of that.
Yeah.
And actually the Gonzaga student council really like threw a fit about it. And they were like sharing this with the media and with school officials and the Catholic Church and like all, they even took their complaints to the Barbers Union and all kinds of things. And so they staged like the first protest basically that was multicultural and multi-generational. So it was like they like picketed in front of the barber shop, and it was like in 1963 one of the first sort of racial protests in the city, kind of modeled after, you know, like the bus sit-ins or you know, counter sit-ins. And I think it's cool that it was, even up here, it was college students that were kind of pushing it, like, no, this is wrong and we shouldn't just put up with it. Yeah. So they took that case like all the way to court, and the even city and police officials by this time backed the Gonzaga students. So even the police had kind of shifted their attitudes from the 40s. They were more like discrimination laws were on the books, and so the police had to enforce those laws. So they were more on the side of the people than they had been in the past. But I mean, it went to court and everything. They basically said this goes against the discrimination laws that we've set up. Like, you can't do this. Yeah. And that man, John Wheeler, was like, well, I'll just close my barbershop. Yeah. So he closed instead of servicing black people, which is like
dramatic.
You're right. Very dramatic. And he said that servicing black people would have changed his profits because then white people wouldn't want to come. But then if you close your barbershop altogether, then nobody can come.
And even then, if black people come, then your profits pretty much stay the same.
You're still going to make money.
Black people still need haircuts.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah. But I think it's cool that it was like at the same time that this was happening in other parts of the country, you know, even young Gonzaga students of different races were all coming together to be like, no, this is not cool. I think it's another good point, too, of the, you know, that difference we were talking about between do you like raise hell or do you go by political means, is like young people are usually the ones pushing and the raise hell people. Yeah. And then it's older people who are like, you know, well, let's try to do it through the system. Yeah. And I think that's a good balance to have.
You definitely need a combination.
Yeah. You need the youth to be a little bit crazy.
You need...
And to get fed up with stuff. Yeah. That older people are just like, this is the way it is. Yeah. You know? I even feel like that nowadays. Like, there are some black people now who are even like, you know, do we need this whole Black Lives Matter movement? Is it more detrimental to be protesting or to have the riots or to have the police precinct to be caught on fire? You know, there are people who don't agree with the means of getting there. Yeah. But I think that
it's kind of the only means.
Yeah, and I think that that's just a result of being older and then just being comfortable with the little bit of progress that you've had in your life. Yeah.
Even going down the political route is difficult.
It is, you know? And time consuming.
To even get black people, like, I don't know, a quarter of Congress being like people of color is difficult. Mm-hmm. That's not something that's really gonna like happen
quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, if it takes longer to go down a political route and we want sooner change, yes, we have to choose the other option. Mm-hmm.
Just, you know, yeah, interesting. What do you think about, like, some people think I think that this is a sign of progress that we've had a black president. But how long do you think it'll be till we have another?
What was he? The 46th president? 45th?
44.
Oh, okay. So the 88th president
is going to be the next black president.
Yep.
Well, we have a half black vice president.
Yeah, but I think it'll be a while, because I think it'll probably be like women first and then another black person.
You think it will be like a white woman?
Yeah.
You don't think Kamala Harris can come in after Biden?
Probably not. I don't see that happening.
Yeah. I think the next presidential election will be interesting,
It will be.
to say
The least.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. But I went to Barack Obama's inauguration.
Wow.
It was very cool. It was probably one of the coolest things I'll ever get to do in life.
When
When he was first elected
Why did
in
I say when?
2008,
meant where?
Washington D.C.
You went to DC?
Yeah, I
Did you
was really there, like in
That's fun.
person at the inauguration. It was very
Was
cool.
Uncle Matt living in DC by then?
I don't think so.
Yeah, he moved like recently, right?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
like it was way. I was still in high school.
Yeah.
But it was
That's
very
fun.
cool.
That was a year after I was born. I've only had like 4 presidents.
3.
2, 3, 4. I've only had 4 now.
Wow.
You've had like 90.
No.
What was George Bush like?
Which one?
I
I
don't
think
know.
I was born when George Bush was president, and then
Wow.
Clinton, and then George W.
Wow.
Bush.
What was Nixon like?
I don't know.
Did you know Harriet Tubman?
You're a fool. I wish. That'd be cool.
Was Frederick
Fred.
Douglass fun?
Yes.
Did he party?
Yes.
Oh man. Okay.
That's fun.
You want to wrap it up?
Oh, yeah. What? You have any interesting facts this week?
Oh, right. Interesting facts.
You've been kind of slacking.
I have been.
You forgot about everything.
Yeah. Let me think of something. I got something. There was a bird. It's extinct. Oh, no, I got a better one. There's a bat. There's a bat, I think. A bat species in probably, I think, Eastern Asia.
Okay.
Or Southern Asia. One of the two. And it's 5 feet long.
No.
With a 7-foot wingspan.
Nope.
As tall
That's
as
a
you.
pterodactyl. That's not a bat.
It's humongous for no reason.
That's terrifying.
Like they're actually that big.
No.
And they still exist.
No. Do they like really fly? Do they fly at
They
night?
fly. They fly at night.
What if one of those things like ran into you? Like it's as big as you.
I'm meeting God.
No.
I'm sending him to God, and then I'm sending myself to God.
Can they pick people up?
Probably not. They're still bats.
What do
They're
what do they eat?
Those ones? I have no idea.
Oh.
Probably people.
That's what I'm saying. Babies.
There was a bird that swooped. It was humongous. It was about the size of the bat, and it would swoop down and take people's children.
Where?
I don't remember.
When? Gross.
Back in the day.
That's
They're
a
extinct now.
pterodactyl.
But they would legitimately just take your child. And now you're missing your child.
And what a crazy story. Nobody would believe you.
No one would believe. Oh, yeah, this
My kid got carried off by a
ginormous
bird.
eagle took my son. No, you just left him at soccer practice, honey.
Right.
That would be terrifying, though.
No, that is terrifying. I don't like that. I don't like knowing that fact. I don't like knowing that there are bats that big.
They're like that big, though.
Also,
It's just, ugh.
I wonder if that's where stories of vampires came from. Like, if I
Probably.
saw a bat that big, I'd be like, oh,
Hanging
no,
upside down?
that's a person.
That's a person.
Yeah,
They're as
I'd
big
be
as one.
terrified.
They're scary.
So I wonder if that's where, like, those sorts of things come
Probably
from.
with that size of bat and, like, vampire bats.
Yeah.
That's probably where it came from. Ginormous, humongous bats and friggin'
You're like, no, that's a
blood-sucking
person.
one.
That's not
Yeah.
that's not an animal.
It's not for me.
I wonder, do they live like all together like other bats? Can you imagine walking into a bat cave and it's like
Ugh.
there's that many of them and they're that big?
Just Alfred in the corner.
Just a nice British man in the corner.
That'd be terrifying.
Yeah, that would be. That's a good fact.
See, I'm boxing that.
I'm running.
No, I'm not running. I'm fisticuffs. I'm boxing it.
No, I feel like it has something that you don't have, like talons.
Probably, but I don't care. I'm gonna go
or
out fighting.
rabies or.
Because if it sees me running, who knows? It might be like a lion, and it might start chasing.
Think it's a game.
Think it's food. I ain't no food.
I hope they just eat like fruit. What if they just eat like
They're
apples?
probably vegetarian.
Yeah.
Which is probably why they're so big.
Or maybe bugs.
Yeah. But the point is, they shouldn't exist.
Yeah, that's scary.
Anyway.
If you could go back and see dinosaurs, would you?
No.
Me either.
No. People are, no. That's a white people question. Ask a white person that. I ain't no.
Hey Mason, if you could go back and see dinosaurs, would you?
Definitely not.
No.
Unless it was Land Before Times.
Okay, like cartoon, sweet little dinosaurs. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
Land Before Time. Did you ever watch that?
Not really.
Oh man.
Not like that. Not like that. I've heard stories.
Oh man.
I've heard stories of fake cartoons, which is hilarious.
Land Before Time was like.
Yeah, no, I know it's
Bigfoot
dinosaurs.
and-
Yeah, fun guys.
Oh man, that's fun. They made dinosaurs seem so sweet and
They
kind, and like the grandparents teach you lessons and stuff. But really, they would just eat you.
This is irrelevant to all life to ever exist. You know Goldilocks and the Three Bears? Everyone in that story deserved what they got. Goldilocks got trauma and a severe amount of it, and she deserved it.
Because
And
she
the-
broke into some people's house.
And the bears deserved it because they left their door open. So everybody got what they needed.
You didn't get. I mean, are those stories even supposed to really have lessons? What do they
No.
teach you?
Don't break into people's houses.
Wow.
Yeah, there's no.
Do you
there's no
need a
lesson
story
this.
to tell you that?
I mean, some people do.
But then some people still break into houses.
I mean, what do you want from us? I mean, them.
You're crazy.
Okay.
Anyways, we'll be back next week. We'll probably do some more Black history because I've been real into it.
Yeah.
It's really interesting to like live in a place your whole life and not
Know anything about
yeah
the people?
like you know, I knew some just history of like how the city was set up and about like that major fire and you know the Expo 74 and you know like the major kind of events that are like Spokane history, but I have never heard a lot of these stories about Black Spokane.
My Spokane history is that fire and the Zags losing literally every year.
Except this year.
Okay. We can
This
argue
is
about
our
this all
year.
day.
It's happening.
This has been from oldest to youngest.
Yes. It's been fun. We'll be back next week with more Black history.
Yeah.
Hooray. And then some Black culture stuff.
And then probably music.
Yeah.
And our first, we don't have to call him a guest. We can say feature. He's our feature.
Our,
because it's music.
our first feature.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, that's fun.
I'm very smart.
I'm excited about that.
Me too.
It's going to be fun. And then we can, you know, who knows what will happen after that.
Yeah.
We don't think too far ahead.
No. Anyway, bye.
Bye.